So I wanted to talk about an experience that I had yesterday in a session. So I had a client and they were telling me that they were upset because they had made amends and they had been, you know, really careful with their behavior and making sure that they were doing the things that they needed to do over a certain period of time, and that they felt that that time frame was sufficient to make amends and be in this other person's good graces again. And I could see where they were coming from. And I could also see from the other person's perspective, no, that's not enough time. No, I don't see what it is that you're doing to make amends. And I'm going to need it for a lot longer than that. But on neither side was anybody communicating what they were thinking. The person that I was working with didn't say, okay, I've been doing X, Y, and Z for X amount of time. That seems like a sufficient amount of time for me to have regained your trust. And on the other person's side, they weren't saying, okay, for me, in order to regain trust, you're going to have to do X, Y, and Z for X amount of time. And then let's talk about it. And the miscommunication led to a lot of fighting. And when the person told me as a fact that they should have trust because they had been good for this certain amount of time, I realized without communicating that expectation, without hearing from the other person what that person actually needed, there would be no way for them to end up on the same page. And I think that this happens a lot where people assume that somebody else sees the situation the same way that they do. They assume that the other person sees how to resolve the situation in the same way. And then people butt heads because one person's coming from their assumption, another person's coming from their assumption. Nobody's talking about what those are. They're just saying, I did this, I did that, I want this, I want that. You didn't do this, you didn't do that. I don't trust you. You should trust me. Instead of saying, okay, in my mind, this is what I need to do. This is if I were to rebuild trust with you, this is what I think it involves. And this is what I think I need to do. And have the other person say, no, in my mind, this is what you need to do. For me, this is where it comes from. We learn a lot about how to interact with people from our own families. And so you carry all that into your relationships and you never share it. So in my house, this is how we did it. And then in my relationship or my friendship or in this part of my life, I learned this method. And that's what I expect. We just make assumptions about where other people are coming from. And then we beat them up when they don't meet our assumptions, or they disappoint us when they don't meet our assumptions, when there was no way in the world for them ever to know what we expected. So the next time that you're upset, take a step back and think, look at your own thoughts and think, is there any way in the world that the other person would know where my expectation is coming from? Can I share that? Maybe journal about it, write everything down. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm feeling. This is where it comes from. This is why I feel the way that I do and what I expect in this situation. And start the conversation with that. Start the conversation with, based on my experience, based on the way that I was raised, this is how I see this type of situation. And this is what I want in this type of situation. And this is what I expect in this type of situation. You may have much more successful conversations if you can put context around what you're thinking and feeling, and especially around what you're expecting, instead of just, being disappointed by other people or attacking other people because they don't know what you're thinking. I hope that this was helpful for you and that you can use it to improve your conversations with people about important things in your life.